Yay. Hello. Hello. Good morning and good afternoon or good evening, anyone watching us today. I am here with my friend and dear colleague, Kai Fuentes, and we are here to talk about this is the first conversation in a series of conversations that I'll be holding with folks from various aspects of thinking about innovation, inclusivity, and how that it stretches us to personally grow. And I wanted to bring Kai on here today because she, of course, she's a very accomplished, respected researcher in the multicultural research space, and she's going to tell us more about that. And I just love her recent sharing about how self-love has been so much a part of her journey. So, Kai, please let us know a little bit about yourself. What would you like people to know?
Mm. Wow. What do I want people to I want people to know about me, right? I
What
guess
would
it's
you
about
like
me,
them
right?
to know about you right now? Yeah.
Yeah. That I appreciate the power of giving more than receiving.
Mhm.
And that's just really the cornerstone of who I am. That's the cornerstone of all my being is the power of giving
Mm.
and the power of giving to others and the power to hold space for folks and to show people grace. And that's really the cornerstone of Kai.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Kai cornerstone, I like that.
Yeah. I also like to laugh a lot and I'm also incredibly silly, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so tell us how you got here. You wanna share a little bit of, like, where your journey and where you how you got here?
So my journey in terms of self-love or just my
And
journey.
just in journey in general, so people get to know a little bit about, like, who you are and what you
Yeah.
do, and then we can kinda get to the process of all that.
Ooh, this is like a therapy session. Excellent. I
Oh,
love it.
okay.
Um, so my name is Kai Fuentes, folks. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I'm the
Hi, Dana.
president and CEO of Ebony Marketing Systems. We're a multicultural market research, full service market research agency. I call myself a market research brat because I was born in the business and I grew up intercepting in malls and a two-way mirror was just very common to me because I grew up in focus groups, watching focus groups, and cleaning up for focus groups. So that's where I am as an owner, as a business owner. Um, and My journey personally has really been helpful to me as a business owner, right? So if we're talking about like the self-love piece, my the other piece of me that's spiritual, that all these things are super important. So that journey started for me about a decade ago when I was pregnant with my first child. And I started going on this self-love journey because I think I had some postpartum depression. I was never like diagnosed with it, but I had to figure out what was working and what was not working for Kai. And
Mhm.
a lot of it boiled down to me loving myself and not thinking that's selfish.
Mhm.
So many times folks get mixed up between I'm being too selfish with self-love.
Yeah.
But you can't give love to the world if you are not giving love to yourself. It just doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah, and well, and so how did you because that is easier said than done, right?
Oh, I
Like the
know.
the process of actually realizing that in order for us to give more and step into the version of ourselves that can give more and be more, become more is a self-reflective journey and getting to actual self-love is different from self-acceptance even. And that process is yes, you want to talk a little bit about how you went through all that?
Yeah, for real. So, like, for real. And I'm still going
Just for
through
real.
it. So, I'm still figuring it out, like, for
Sure,
real.
sure.
But yeah, self-acceptance is really it's really like the stepping stone to self-love. So, I had to accept Kai for the beauty, for the insecurities, for all of the things that make Kai tick and all of the things that make Kai not tick in good ways. And I really had to embrace that and just say, this is who I am. And I'm not going to change. I'm going to improve and get better and work on character traits, but I'm not going to beat myself up. I used to really beat myself up. I don't know if folks are listening. Beating yourself up or being harsh on yourself is one of the worst things you can do for yourself,
It
right?
really is.
Because and if you don't want anybody else to talk to you a certain way, then you can't talk to yourself a certain way.
Yeah.
So there were so many times when I would talk to Kai, and yes, I'm talking about myself in the third person, but I would talk to Kai so meanly, and not in a nice way. And when I was going on this journey of self-love and really understanding self-love, I would say, well, would I allow anybody else to talk to me like this? No, I would go crazy if somebody said what I'm saying to myself. So
Yeah.
why would I say this to myself? You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a brutal when you this is why I'm a fan of writing down the things that you think about yourself, because once you actually see the words that are in your head about the concept of yourself,
Yeah.
it can be pretty shocking, right? Like, and it is not something that you would say to a friend or a colleague, or so to think that, we're the meanest to ourselves is it's just doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah. And to
Yeah.
piggyback off that too, like an exercise that I do is the I am exercise.
Yes. Mm.
So I am what? And you just fill in the blanks and exhaust what you are and who you are. So I am giving, I am secure, I am talented, I am loving, I am, but it's like, well, there's so much more. So dig deeper. And
Yeah.
what else is there for, that creates you? And that's all a part of the I am. So I do a lot of that work with myself,
Hmm.
um, to kind of center me and bring me back to who I am. And on this list, I can't write, you know, anything mean about myself, right? So I
Mm.
have to write lots of good things. And, I keep it under my pillow or under my bed. So, like little reminders for myself. My husband thinks I'm bananas, but that's okay. Um, he'll say, "What are you today?" I am. I'm like, don't read it, don't read it. But um, no, but no, it's those are very important things to do because these are reminders about who you are and what you bring to the table in this beautiful world.
Yeah, and especially there, I feel like if sometimes even if we may not completely believe it, just seeing it written and having it out, like out in the universe to kind of step into as the possibility, then even that can be helpful because we can't always go from A to Z, right? There's like little steps in between of I suck to
I kind of suck.
maybe I don't suck so bad. Maybe I just
Sometimes
suck a
suck.
little bit.
I'm a half a suck today.
Today, and it's interesting, right, how it can change from day to day, like that,
Yeah.
like where your energy can come from, and sometimes you can feel really powerful. Like I love thinking about the emotional words, the words that we use to describe emotions. And today I feel, grounded, or I feel powerful, or I feel strong, or I feel just a little discontent, and coming up with the words of the day and just and noticing that. And so
Mm,
doesn't necessarily put it into the I am framework because that, then that it seems a little different. It's a little different to me.
yeah. Do you do morning pages, Paula?
I do kind of a version of I've done some
Yeah.
morning pages. I do a version of that. This is why I'm saying writing things down to just download all your brain thoughts onto paper.
Right.
I do that pretty frequently, and I also write in the evening. Sometimes I write like what I accomplished that day so I can kind of be grateful for what I did do rather than beat myself up about the things I didn't do. Or it could be, things that I'm looking forward to for the next day. But yeah. How about you? Do you do any other times of day?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to show you guys something. Hold on. I just realized it was across. Hold on.
Want to say hi to everyone watching. Hello, nice to see you.
Hey,
Thank you for
everybody.
joining us.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So this is my journal.
Yeah.
And, it's a little black book, but in it, sometimes I write in it like 3 times a day about just like random stuff, or if I get off a call and I'm salty about what happened on the call, because that happens,
Hmm.
write that down. I write that down. I also write down my goals. And I just want to tell folks something too about the power of writing stuff down.
Yes.
I cannot explain any more profoundly the importance of writing something down. If you have the power, everybody, to make your life what you want it to be,
Yes.
you become what you think about.
Mhm.
It's just that simple.
I absolutely agree. And it's so interesting because, I have coaching clients as well. And when I
Yeah.
ask people to write things, there's a lot of pushback to the writing. And it's hard to say, like, I do the same. I have little notes everywhere. I have a notebook, but I also like write on random sheets of paper just to get my thoughts out or ideas out.
Mhm.
And it is so helpful to know. It's comforting because it I'm not just stewing in it, right? And it all of a sudden becomes real when I write it down. And if it's something, it is a goal or something I want to accomplish, it has a greater likelihood, I believe, to actually transpire at some point,
Oh, of
right?
course. Like,
Yeah.
totally. Like, there's been times where there's specific goals that I wanted, and by writing it down every day, every night, and being consistent and keeping my thoughts positive. That's the thing. Like,
Yes.
our brains almost work like our social media feed, right? So, like, if you are looking at, makeup on social media or whatever, then the algorithm is going to feed you more makeup. If you're looking at, to buy a car, the algorithm is going to feed you more cars.
Yeah.
Our brains are hardwired the same way.
I love
If you
that
have
analogy. Yeah.
positive thoughts, yeah, like you have positive thoughts, you will continue to receive positivity. And then you can in turn give that positivity to the world. And then it's a cycle. Then you're in a cycle of positivity and, just a lighter spirit.
Yeah, and then when you're putting that energy out there, you will compel people and attract people to you because of that energy. And you're right, it does kind of feed on itself and have this. I think about the ripple effect all the
Yeah.
time, right? Like you give a little, and then a next person might be more apt to give a little as well if we set examples of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. Woof.
Woo!
Preaching to the choir, girl. Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with
Well,
that.
what's an example in your life where you've been able to take some of these concepts and bring them into the way you think about innovation or the way you have maybe innovated yourself or your company? What comes up for you when you think
Hmm.
about innovation in this filter?
Right, as at, like, with like quasi manifesting and writing things down and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. Yeah, well, my whole life is my whole life. pretty much. But let me be specific. I can talk from the personal, I'll talk to the personal side and then bring it over to career. Um, I mean, personally, for me, being a mom,
Hmm.
that was something I wanted to do. That was something I was passionate about becoming, and I wrote it down.
Hmm.
I wrote it down. I focused on it. That was something that I wanted. I wanted to, be able to have a family and, have a partner that complements that. And I wrote that down too.
Hmm.
Even like for folks, if you're looking for somebody, if you're out there in the dating world or whatever the case may be, I have a lot of friends that are still single.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think any of them are watching, but I tell them to, but I tell them to write it down. Write down what kind of partner you want. Make
Yeah.
that person real.
Yeah.
And to your point, that brings it to reality, the writing it down. So I did do that. I've done that my whole life. Also, on in the career side, um, I'm still writing things down. I'm nowhere near done. I'm nowhere near. I haven't brought Ebony to where I know it can be, and I'm still
Mm.
working passionately towards that. So these are all the things that I'm in the background. I'm writing down. I'm setting goals. I'm setting milestones. I'm setting check-ins with myself. And you know I used to this I used to write um a check to myself at the end of every at the beginning of every year,
Okay.
saying this is how much I want to make.
Yeah.
Just very, very, put it under my bed. And we just recently moved, and we were moving from our old place, and the check fell out. And it's like, oh, I was like, what's this? One another Kai's manifestations. I tell you, they're all over the house. My little manifestation
Wow.
notes to myself.
That's
That's really
awesome.
and it's like, okay, well, yeah, you did it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not done. But what I'm saying is these are kind of tools that you can use to be successful, whether in your personal life, in your business career. I'm never, not never, but I try to keep my thoughts as positive as possible, so my
Hmm.
outcomes can be positive, right? I may be frantic, I may be, but positivity is so important.
Yeah, I agree. And writing that down and having it for you, even if you're not focusing on it every single day,
Right.
but it does give you that focus, whether it's in the back of your mind or on the forefront, because these things ebb and flow, of course, but just having it written down as that a thing that you're focusing on, I think can be really powerful. Yeah. So what about so that's in your business. Well, that's your personal side and your business side. Is there something that you are working on right now that you would like to share and we can help help you create that in the world?
um no, because all part of my manifestation stays with Kai until it's released to the world.
Okay, okay. That's fair
But
enough.
um but well wishes are always welcome. i
Yeah.
I love the power of a good intention for somebody, and
Mhm.
which is the same thing as, which not the same thing, but it's similar to prayer. Some people don't like the word prayer, but they like the word intentions, or vice versa. Anyway,
Mhm. Mhm.
good intentions and prayer, I always sop those up.
Sending out the good vibes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely,
I see.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and so what is it to be Kai right now? How are you doing? What is it like to be you?
Oh wow. um hmm. At this moment, now tomorrow it may be different.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Or this kind of it could be a season, right? We kind of go through
Yeah.
different chapters and seasons in our life. Like if you think about however you want to answer that.
Yeah. This season for me is really about stepping into what I've been manifesting and sitting in that
Hmm.
and being grateful for that. So being Kai right now is in a place of gratitude. Being Kai right now is in a place of self reflecting.
Mhm.
Being Kai right now is in a place of celebrating life and being okay with being vulnerable and telling those around you how you feel about them and how important they are to you.
Mm.
Um, Kai's in a good place right now, but I'm not always. So, what I do is when I'm in these places of self reflecting, gratitude, all these things, when I'm in these places, I like bottle it up and store it for my rainy day.
Mm.
So, because it will rain, and sometimes in life it pours,
Yes.
but you can have kind of a nice awning over you if you know that it's a season and that you also know that you've had good moments and going back to those moments and remembering how you felt. That's why having a journal is so important.
Yeah, and to
If I
me,
can
that's
go
why
back to
the
that.
feeling like, going to the feeling is also important, right? Like,
Yeah.
how is it
Yeah.
I'm feeling right now, and what is that like? Because it's not always that way, right? Sometimes our nervous system is, like, heightened, and sometimes we're a little calmer or somewhere in between,
Yeah.
and so I like this idea of, like, remembering, like, it's not always like this when you are in sort of a more heightened kind of higher anxiety or state. Um, remembering that I don't love the not necessarily "this too shall pass." Can't
Yeah.
say that I
Yeah.
love that
Yeah.
statement, but I
Yeah.
do I like the sentiment of that, right? Like, things do ebb and flow, they do change tomorrow. There are things that could change tomorrow and we don't even know it.
There could be things that change in 10 minutes from now. We can get off this call and then lives can just completely change. Like
Yeah,
it, and that's the way that's so that's why it's also important in that same vein is, being present in that moment. So right now, I'm in this moment having a great conversation with a great friend and I'm enjoying this moment. So I'm taking time because we could log off and I check my email and all hell breaks loose.
yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
Who
And I
knows?
and I think having, like, this underlying river of acceptance when things do, you know, all hell breaks loose. And knowing, like, sometimes that is gonna happen, and sometimes things are gonna be lovely and we'll be coasting along. Um, and that we have the power to reframe even when things are not going very well. Like, not that you have to change the way you think about everything, because sometimes it sucks, and it's okay to be in a place where things are just sucky right now, right?
Yeah.
But knowing that there's always going to be that dichotomy. There's always going to be something that doesn't quite go right, and there's always going to be things that are fantastic.
So my takeaway from that too, and that's an excellent point, by the way. And my takeaway from that is I really, and I'm not just saying this is not cliche, everybody. So don't think that this is, I actually really mean this. Um, the power of surrendering.
Mhm.
And like sometimes I used to try to control everything and everybody around me. That's not a good look. And I realized in surrendering to what's coming to you, I'm not saying lay down dead and just, if something's happening, then not, you know, respond to it. I'm saying that sometimes when things happen in life, just kind of, okay, well, this is happening. I'm in this moment right now. I can
Mhm.
react one way or I can react another way. I can't control what's happening to me, but I can control my reaction to it.
Yes. Mhm.
And then and the piece about surrendering is really surrendering to where you like. So my belief is surrendering to the universe and the bigger plan of that, because it's weird how everything kind of like falls together when it needs to, and it's not on the time you wanted to. It's the time that you needed it to.
Yes. Oh, I'm such a believer in that. I don't always like it,
I know.
but I do believe in that, there all of the energy that we put out there is there are things working in our favor always. We just may not know that. But continuing to show up and do the work and like you said, put out the energy that you want to have come back to you is what part of the focus is, what it should be, right? And it makes life that much more fulfilling.
Yeah. And for those who don't, maybe believe in a higher power, believe in the universe, or believe in all those
Mm.
things, because there's folks out there like that, and that's fine.
Mhm.
Um, I'm with that, but I think that it's also scientific. Like it's scientific that if you put enough energy behind something,
Yes.
it happens. So
Right.
that's just also like a scientific thing. Energy doesn't die. It's always
Right.
kinetic, right? So it's a constant flow.
Yeah.
But what you put into that energy, whether it be positivity, negativity, love, jealousy, whatever you put into that energy that energy flow will come back to you. So it's important to understand that the energy flow is oh my goodness, it's so important. Like I get all weirded out. For my second child, I was looking for a midwife. So I
Mm.
was like, and the I was a VBAC, so I had my first was cesarean C-section, emergency C-section. The second one was a VBAC, which is for Black women only 2%.
Hmm.
I had a 2% shot of doing this. Anyway, make a very long story short. I was looking around at different midwives, and I had to feel the energy of these these places. If the energy is not right, then it just wasn't flowing. So I went through so many different midwives, and I'm using this as an example because I was so deliberate in trying to understand the energy of each place.
Yeah.
But energy does in it, like it can flow like this through companies too. Like, and it does flow like this through companies. Like, have you ever been to a company like, oh, their corporate culture is great? You met their CEO and the CEO is the bomb, or vice
Mhm.
versa. You're like, oh, their corporate culture is toxic, and then
Yes.
you meet the CEO, and they are like this person who like likes the bonchinche and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, and then you get to decide if you want to if there's a match in that, right? Like if there it sounds like um you're using somewhat do you call that intuition or do you call what how do you look at that energy flow for people?
Mm, I love that. I think it is intuition, but we all have it the same. We like no, I want to make very clear that person A's intuition is not no better than person B's intuition,
No,
but
right.
person A may be listening more to their intuition than person B.
Mhm. Yes.
And what is intuition? It's that gut feeling of that says something's not right here, or something is right here, or this feels right.
Yeah.
The intuition is that almost like the mariposas in your stomach, the butterflies in your stomach, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, it's that little bit of a sense, right? That something is
Hmm.
off or no. I think about it as like it's like a hell yes in your body, right? Or a hell no, like, oh no, there's, and you can't exactly describe why, but you just like, that's a no for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you've been to a restaurant and like doesn't
Yes.
it doesn't smell great, but you're eating anyway, and you're like, this may not work out well for me.
Should have done
That's
that.
not intuition, or maybe that is, but
It could be.
intuition is kind of the same way,
Yeah.
where but but how do you listen to your intuition? And I think that's something else that maybe we should tell folks. Like, so the way I listen to my intuition is I get very still.
Yes.
So sometimes there's things that's happening around you, or you know, um, I was doing a focus group the other night and I was having tech challenges. And I was like, oh, gosh, I don't even know why I was having all these tech challenges, but I was. And, I was kind of anxious in the moment. And I was like, okay, so how do and I was like, okay, just stop for a second. Just be still. Just be still. And I listened to my intuition. It was like, oh, you know what? I think that, and I was able to figure it out
Mm-hmm.
because I just stop for a second. So when there's chaos or when these things are happening, just stop. Just
Yeah.
just it's okay. You don't have to keep moving for a moment. Just be still like when there's chaos.
That is so important. I think about pausing all the time, like
Yeah.
just really slowing down, especially when you see things around you heating up. And even if it's physically removing yourself, not that you have to, but if that's what it takes, sometimes I purposefully will leave the room just to collect. I talk about collecting my thoughts
Yep.
and understanding what do I want to do now in order for me to create a result that I want to see, not something that I'm going to maybe regret later. Um, we can talk about regret too, because
Well,
I
because
actually don't regret very much in my life.
oh really? How
For that,
so?
for that reason, because I've become so intentional, um,
Hmm.
and just like, as you continue to raise your awareness about your own thoughts and what's important to you, and really trying to separate other people of things expected by society, things expected from other people, and really ground into you and yourself and what's going to work for you, and creating boundaries around that. I think it becomes more and more difficult to have regrets because you are so plugged in and you like the reasons that you've done those things, that there's really no need for regret.
I
That
love that.
wasn't always the case in my life at all. Like
Right.
there are definitely things that feel bad about. I've processed that and been able to move on. But more recently in my adult life, I really can't say that there's much that I regret.
They also say about regrets, like you can't really, I mean, you could do what you want, but not to regret things because all of those experiences that you had shape who you are.
Yes.
So, you know, I would be a different Kai if I didn't make mistakes or if I did have regrets or didn't have regrets or whatever the case may be. So, and that goes back to also trusting the journey and trusting the journey of the universe that may be out there for you, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
trust that at the end of the day, I'm going to be where I need to be.
Mhm.
And I may go through some stuff, but I'm going to be where I need to be.
Yeah.
And so I hear what you're saying about the regretting part. That makes sense about being so intentional. That also too, like words are so powerful,
Yeah.
right? And it's like words are so powerful. So I hear you on that. I've been doing that lately, where if I'm in a conversation with somebody and it's not going as well as I wanted to, or if the other day my 9-year-old said something and I was like, oh wow, like okay, how am I going to, like, what? Like, you really just said that to me? Like, okay. So I was like, I just collected myself and I just removed myself.
Mhm.
And then I came back and I was like, hey, let's talk about what was just said,
Mhm.
So I think that, removing yourself, giving you the time and space to take a couple of breaths and to really understand your emotions and where that's coming from.
Mhm.
That's why therapy is so important, y'all. Because, like, in therapy, I know what my triggers are now.
Hmm. Mhm.
I know what my triggers are, and I know how I'm going to react to certain triggers. So
Yeah.
now, if I see a trigger coming, I'm like, "Ooh, I can bob and weave and dodge the bullet because I know how I'm going to react to it.
Right, like you can self coach your way through it because you have so much better awareness of what's happening,
Yeah.
and you can notice the patterns of what's happening, right?
And I really, that, to me, yes. And
Yeah.
I really, you know, give all the credit to therapy and to writing things down.
Yeah. Yeah. Writing things down. And I think I just wanna mention too on the it occurred to me on the idea of regret is if we look at things that happen, and again, I know it's cliche to say things happen for a reason, but it's kind of like the when something happens, there is, even though we may not see it right now, and some things can be tragic, of course, but on the other side, there is some kind of gift that we just do not understand yet. And I do trust that
Mm,
notion as
mm.
well. Mhm.
Oh, I co-sign that. I really
Yeah.
do. I'm with that totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's, my mom used to say all the time, like, disappoint, every disappointment is for a good sometimes,
Mhm.
like, what's on the other side of that. And I've been disappointed so many times,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh man. But now looking back at it, I see the good in those disappointments.
Yeah, yeah. And even taking, like, big risks, there have been a couple times where I've taken some really, really large gifts, like or gifts, gifts. Maybe that's the gift is the
Yeah.
new risk or something like that. But, like moving like making a really big cross country move when I
Mm,
didn't know anybody, like nobody,
yeah.
or moving abroad when I didn't know the language. I mean, I had some sense of the language, but I didn't really know that. Um, and, I think about how those huge risks have shaped me and those experiences, I can pass along what I have learned from those experiences onto other people, even though sometimes when you're in the thick of it, like when I moved back from the Czech Republic to the US, I really had no idea that I would be in such reverse. Really, it was a depression that was reverse culture shock, triggered by reverse culture shock.
Wow.
And I just had no idea that I was totally blindsided by that. And and I learned so much about empathy and understanding people's stories better and being, genuinely curious about people's experiences. So that really low point in my life, um, it just really helped shape, what I ended up doing later in my life and being very successful at it. So I love thinking of examples like that.
Yeah, and about the whole risk thing too, folks. Yeah, I get very risk adverse at times, but I think about it. Well, I think of a quote that I have on my nightstand because I
Hmm.
put quotes in frames. A little corny, but that's okay. And it says, "Proceed as if success is inevitable."
Mhm. Yes.
So I just
That's
keep
so
moving.
funny. I just want you to say that, to know that I have a sticky on here that also says success is inevitable. My
It's
success is
inevitable.
inevitable.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
inevitable. That's right, and claim it, because it
Yeah.
is. Like, and you're putting energy behind it. Of course, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's inherent in that, what I like so much is that my success is inevitable. There's a little piece in there if I look for it that I'm already successful. Like there's my success has
Right.
already happened. There's just some new version of success around the corner.
Absolutely. And
And we're in it right now, right? Like to some extent.
here we are,
Here
and
we
you're
are.
doing it. So kudos
Yeah.
to you. And so about the risk piece, I
Mm,
always think before I take a risk, I say to myself, well, you know what? If I stay in this, I know what that is already. I already know
Mhm.
what that is, right?
Yes.
If I go through it and cross to the other side, I don't know what that is. But there's going to be beauty in the crossing to the other side, and there's
Mhm.
going to be beauty on the other side of the other side. So there's growth in that. So anytime there's growth, do it. Anytime
Absolutely.
there's going to be some, even if it's a challenge, if it's joy, if it's not, whatever the case may be, wherever there's growth, do it.
Yeah, especially if it's, like, a little bit scary. And you
That means you
think,
should really do
"Woo,
it.
woo,
I know.
okay, let me think, how am I gonna do that?" Yeah, I agree. I have so many ideas of things that feel kind of scary to me, and, and again, you can't necessarily always go from 0 to 360. It's like there's a reason you're not doing some of that maybe it's a bigger idea because you need to accumulate the muscle in order to have the capacity to do that other thing, even though that may be in your vision, right?
I'm with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but don't get me wrong. I'm scared to do new things. Like I'm not like I have to the same thing I was the same way I was just telling you, I have to tell myself that. Like
Yeah.
you can go through it, you can sit here, you can sit on the other side. Like I have to
Yeah.
have these pep talks with myself as
Me
well.
too, and I have to tell
Why?
myself, "You have what it takes to do that," right? I really don't need another what just, not that we don't need support, but it's not but I know that inherently I have the capacity to do everything that I want to do.
And you're enough in that. And
Yeah.
understanding that we are enough. And that's another
Mhm.
mantra I have around here somewhere that,
Are enough.
that I'm enough. And and I guess circling back to self love in that way, I had to realize that I'm enough. I'm enough to receive love. I'm enough to give love. I'm
Mhm.
enough to hold love for others.
Mhm.
I'm enough.
That's
And, I get that now.
mm.
Yeah. It took me a while to get here, but I'm
Yeah.
here.
I love it. I feel like that would be a perfect place to end, except I wanted to talk a little bit about inclusivity,
Mm.
and because I know you have a lot of passion, as do
Yeah.
I, coming from different places, and I just thought this would be a good place to say a little bit about your position, your thoughts on helping people as they embark on the journey. I always think of it as it is also only a journey, right? There's
Yeah.
always just next steps to go through and onions to peel. Um, so what are the words that you would like to share with people about inclusivity?
Mm. Well, I guess the more inclusive you are, the more well rounded your life will be.
Mm,
And, and also inclusivity is a marathon, not a sprint, right?
mhm,
So, like, if folks are trying to change their ways of becoming more inclusivity, take your time in terms of, you don't have to go out and try to find a bunch of Black and Latino friends. Like, you don't have to do all that, but just little things along the way to help you on that journey for inclusivity. I mean, my life is so much better. I don't want to be around, all the time 10 other Kais, even though that can be very fantastic and fabulous. But and yes, and I love building with, my Black sisters and stuff like that. But it's good to hear where other people are coming from, and it's good to I feel like I'm more well-rounded because my bench is very inclusive.
mhm. Your
But
bench. What can you
well
say
like
more?
my camp, the people that I roll with, right? Like
Okay.
people that I talk to or
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, is
Gotcha.
inclusive. Also Ebony is very inclusive too. But
Mhm.
in my personal life, it's, the inclusivity of um, being and talking to others and just
Mhm.
being a part of many different worlds.
Yeah.
And it's made me a better person. But I do say that sometimes inclusivity and stuff is um I just want to see action now. I think I'm at that point where I've talked about it, I'm living my life as such. I'm ready to see others step up to the plate as well and do the same.
Right, right. Which that kind of leads me to a question I was wondering if we should embark on here, which is because I know you do largely multicultural research work, and there is
99.9% of our
yeah,
work is multicultural. Like,
okay. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's just what you do. It's
that's what we
who
do.
you are, right?
Yeah.
What and but that's not necessarily diversity, equity, inclusion work, and I just wonder if, um, what might be the difference or the crossover for
Mm.
your business? Because
Oh, wow. Well, it's interesting because, yes, because multicultural market research, what we do, but within that, who we hire to do these things it is contributing to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
okay, you think of it as a contribution
I do.
to yeah.
I do. I
Mhm.
think of it as hiring a single Latina mom that's just coming back into the workforce, and other companies aren't going to hire her because she can't be at their 10 o'clock meeting every Tuesday to Friday,
Mhm.
so they wouldn't hire her. That's where I step in as the owner. I'm like, yeah, come on board. We can't do we can't do a team meeting at 10 a.m. No problem. Can we do it at 5? She has to take her son to, and working in that way,
Mm.
in my opinion, is also because diversity also goes beyond race and ethnicity. It also goes to income diversity, religious diversity, um, gender diversity. There's all different kinds of diversity. Folks always get stuck in black versus white, but it's not. It's really a bigger piece. So yes, I do feel that we also that does contribute to DEI. We also do a lot of work on transit and a lot of work on the railroads. And I know that hiring young Black men, that's important to me. That's
Mm.
something that I stand on. I
Mhm.
know they're the last ones to be hired, and
Mhm.
having that, bringing them to the table, and working with us, and even like saying, hey, maybe let's try this, let's try that, giving them pointers along the way, mentoring them along the way. I have a lot
Mhm.
of interviewers that have come back and like, hey, Kai, thanks. I'm working here now. I'm working there now, and to
Mm.
me, that's something that I can do to give back to my folks, which is a lot of the reasons why I do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there any parting words you would like to share with folks? Any advice or parting words that you would like to share with people?
Well, yeah, I'll just go back to that quote, proceed as if success is inevitable, because it is.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
I love it. And where would you like people, if people want to connect with you, what is the best way to connect? Where can they find your lovely work?
Yeah, cool. Hit me up on LinkedIn, Kai Fuentes, or go to our Ebony website, ebonysystems.com, and you
Yeah.
can find
And
me there.
if you're here, and also give her a follow, and you will find out when she's putting up great content around what her company is up to and what she's up to. So I really, really appreciate your time, dear friend Kai. And thank you for
Mhm.
helping me kind of kick this off. And much to what you were just saying, the intent of this space is to hear from voices that are from various aspects of inclusivity. That is my intent. And so over the course of the next several weeks, many weeks, I'm going to be having similar conversations with folks that range on all kinds of aspects of inclusivity and talking about innovation and personal growth. So I hope you follow me as well. And I am at Paula Rosecky here on LinkedIn mostly. That's where I hang out the most. And I hope
Mhm.
to see you next time. See you next Tuesday.
Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula.
Take care.
Be well. How do I leave? Oh, I just hit leave.